All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, if I could have your attention to see the ring is surrounded by the wrestlers on tonight's card, along with promoter Ed Hellier, Sodbuster Kenny J, some of the ring crew, the announcing staff. Just a few days ago, professional wrestling lost one of its greatest competitors of all time. And in my estimation, and this is really saying something, I don't think there was a better all-around performer, and I'm talking about as a wrestler, as a manager, as somebody who could get the crowd heated up as much as Bobby the Brain Heenan. When I started, when Bobby Heenan came to the AWA area, actually, ladies and gentlemen, in the late 1960s, and he was here right up into the early 1980s. Of course, his association with Nick Bockwinkel, Ray Stevens, Ken Patera, Bobby Duncombe, you name it, absolutely extraordinary. No guy got as much heat, as they say, for the wrestling fans, as did Bobby the Brain Heenan. Of course, in the last part of his career, going on to the WWE, working alongside Gorilla Monsoon, and then WCW. I'm going to talk to Ed Hellier first of all. Ed, we had the pleasure of having Bobby the Brain Heenan actually come in about 15 years ago and work a show with Steel Domain Wrestling. I had the opportunity to actually sit next to Bobby Heenan and call a match. I've been doing this for a long time, and that is one of the greatest thrills of my career. Talk a little bit about what Bobby Heenan brought to STW.
That was August 15th, 2003, and it was the greatest thrill as a wrestling promoter when I talked to Bobby on the phone, and he said he would be delighted to come to Steel Domain Wrestling. I had a chance to pick him up to the airport, rode with him in the car from the airport to Savage. It was just too short. I just couldn't get enough stories in that brief a time. But after that, when we introduced him in Savage at Nison's, he came out and he put over the guys in the locker room in Steel Domain Wrestling. And it was amazing. Nobody asked him to do it, but you know, he was the master of making other people look good. All the guys that he managed, all the guys that he wrestled, and he decided to make us look good, and I'll never forget it.
You know, for the past 15 years, those of you who are not aware, Bobby was battling throat cancer. It was discovered, as you said, Ed, in the early 2000s. Fought like a trooper all those years. And I want to talk to a man who knows or knew Bobby Heenan very, very well. Didn't always come out on the winning end of the stick necessarily. Let's give it up, ladies and gentlemen, for Sodbuster Kenny J. Talk a little bit about Bobby.
You know, Bobby kind of reminds me a little about this guy. He really had a gift of gab. No, but it was real good. You know, he could talk, he could do everything, you know, and he was a great wrestler, even if some people didn't think he did. But he made a lot of guys mad, but I'll tell you one thing, he was the most wonderful guy. You know, I had a lot of ins and outs with him, and I did beat him on TV, but I had little help with Buck, you know, but it was very interesting. I'll never forget the guy. He was a wonderful guy.
You know, again, I don't know how many people appreciate just how great Bobby Heenan was, not only in getting people into the building, but whether you liked him or you hated him, Bobby Heenan's philosophy was always give the people what they want, send the people home happy, and he did that time and time again, no question about it, with Nick Bockwinkel, Ray Stevens, on and on. Now you had a situation with Bobby Heenan in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And as I understand it, Kenny, in your some 70, 80 years in the business, this was perhaps the shortest match of your career.
This is the shortest match in history, and this was with the Brain. you know, we were in Milwaukee, and that's when I came up with my shot grip. I beat Pepe Le Pew, you know, and I was down the line, I beat a few guys. So I got booked with this guy. And I really always wanted to wrestle him one-on-one. So there we were in Milwaukee, and the bell rang. He hit me with a pair of brass knuckles. I was out, and that was the end of the match. 12 seconds. Man, I had to back up for my dad. Check that day. Yeah!
12 seconds and Vern still paid you. That's amazing. All right. Again, ladies and gentlemen, the wrestlers have surrounded the ring. We're going to pay tribute right now with the traditional 10-bell salute. You know, we've lost Nick Bockwinkel, Mad Dog Vachon, The Crusher, Vern Gagne, Wahoo McDaniel, the stars of our era. This is really a tough, tough loss in the person of one of the greatest competitors of all time, in Bobby the Brain Heenan. So Roger Buck, there at ringside, if we could have the 10-bell salute and just a moment of silence for the great Bobby the Brain Heenan. Thank you very much, everybody, and thank you, Bobby Heenan.